All righty. Well, welcome, you guys. I am so glad that you are here. We are getting ready to kick off the power of homemaking and community. And one of the things that I love so much is doing these little master classes. You can come in and just kind of get a little input, right? And I get to share, some of my heart behind what it is that I do and how I love to encourage. Women, but really in this season of my life, it is for homemakers. So if you don't know who I am, I'm Susan Hyde. So I want to welcome you. I'm going to give you a little bit of details on, my background because it is often, I think, helpful when you want to either take advice or you want to listen to somebody to kind of understand a little bit of the backstory, right? How did they get to this place and what gives them any kind of merit to speak on something? So that I think is important. But let me just clarify one thing right off the bat. When we're referring to homemaker, a lot of people often feel that you are only a homemaker if you do not work outside of the home. So, and this I've seen come through a lot in, different reels and different posts that I've done, especially on Instagram, that people feel they are disqualified if they work outside the home, either full-time or part-time. And I want to remind you, you are a homemaker. You are a homemaker, whether you stay at home and have that, as your main purpose, whether you work outside the home full-time or part-time, balancing both of those things, you are a homemaker. And I am truly passionate about serving you as a whole. There is no one that is discounted in that role. So, and we're going to talk a little bit about how that role can be a little bit lonely and some things that you can do about it as well. So, just really quickly on my journey of like, who is this gal that I am going to sit and listen to, hopefully for just 45 minutes. I kind of have this down. So, hopefully, we will run through this huge stack of notes that I give myself. But so I am a mom. So I am I have two biological children. I have a stepson, and then we also adopted from foster care. And so that is who we still have at home now. He's 15 and a half. And then I'm a yaya. So I have grandkids. I have two. And part of our story is really fun because my son, who is still at home, my 15-year-old, he had a half sister that came into the foster care system. My husband and I chose not to take placement of her. Gosh, it's almost 5 years ago. But my son and daughter-in-law, who were married with no kids, they chose to take placement and then they adopted her almost a year ago. So we kind of have a mishmash kind of a story. And so I'm a yaya, not because I'm Greek. If you guys watched my Big Fat Greek Wedding, that's where I kind of came up with it. But this little girl had to call me something, but I wasn't a grandma yet. So I'm like, I think I want to be a yaya. So anyway, there's that story. But it is how God has worked in our life, and it's been amazing. So I am a follower of Jesus. It really shapes everything that I bring to the table. But it doesn't mean if that isn't something that resonates you, that you aren't going to find value in things that I share. So I wanted to just say that. Grew up in Seattle, kind of was mentioning that before we started recording. And I've lived here almost all of my life. And I learned a lot of homemaking from my mom, but I can remember I have a lot of memories of my grandma. Anybody else feel like, oh my gosh, if you got to spend any time with a grandparent? For me, mine lived, in the middle of the country, so I saw them every summer. But I just remember my grandma canning and making this most delicious chocolate cake. And so I just have a lot of those memories, right? And so, where did you learn homemaking from? I would love to hear in the chat, as you kind of think about that. Yeah, I mean, because I was in the era of home ec. So anybody else that old that you actually had some home ec? I mean, I learned to sew in school. I learned to do cook. I also learned, you guys, to balance a checkbook. Does anybody even know what a checkbook is anymore? Because I don't think so, right? Anyway, I got married when I was 24, had two children, and then I divorced and was a single mom for 8 years. And during that season, I was a flight attendant. And then got set up on a blind date and met my husband. And he's a pilot. We did not meet doing anything, on the job. So we worked for two different airlines and we weren't set up that way. But shortly after I remarried, I knew that that wasn't going to be where I could stay as a profession. And so I chose to become a certified parent coach because there was no other training to help moms kind of in like the home space. But I really believe that that was the perfect plan for me. So I got to learn how, to really help moms mostly, but I also worked with some couples, how to intrinsically motivate children and kind of evaluate what was going on. And what I found during that process was a lot of behaviors that people were seeing with their children were because there was instability in the home, there was no routine, and there was no structure. And so that kind of led me in to where I'm at now and where I feel so passionate about having that, role as a homemaker and how important it is. So anyway, so created this planner, which everybody seems to love now, and really, is a piece that helps kind of create a lot less decision fatigue for moms. And so anyway, and so then here we are, a year, a little over a year, maybe a year and a half, where my Instagram really blew up. I really touched and resonated on a pain point for a lot of women. I mean, and a lot of men too commented about just not being taught how to care for a home or how to clean. And so anyway, so there's just a little bit about me. So Kelly says, "Oh, you stay in touch with your home ec teacher?" Oh my gosh, I would. Well, I'm kind of really old, so I'm not sure if mine would still be around. I would love to find. Oh my gosh, that would be so good. Mm. And Shelly, you learned from your husband. I love that. Oh my gosh, yes. So a lot of people will ask me, right? Well, men can do a lot of the things. Oh, yes, men can do a lot of the things, but I'm going to tell you, you are gifted special as a woman in so many elements to nurture your family. And so don't discount that at all. So, okay, so setting the stage, homemaking is essential. I think that we can kind of come to agreement on that. I think what's happened, there's a piece that has slowly drifted away, and it's the community piece. And so we're going to dig into why homemaking matters, how community can transform that journey, creating a peaceful, well-run home. I'm going to touch on about 5 different things that maybe you've already been implementing and maybe will be new, and then why investing in yourself really matters and is key. So why homemaking matters. You want to create a foundation for family and well-being. So homemaking is not just about cleaning and organizing. Anyone else be like, yes, sister, speak it louder, because oftentimes I think we can feel like that's all that we're doing, right? And it can often be permeated from others in our house. And so that is one thing. But it really is about nurturing, which I mentioned, having that loving environment that fosters emotional health, bonds in our family, stability, and security for our family, especially now. Like when you leave your house and walk out that door, you don't know what cray cray you're going to run into. And so we all, I mean, I'm a homebody, right? We know if you've been hanging around me, you know that that is my jam. But I do have to go out in public on occasion, right? But making that space when you get to come home to take that big, exhale and feel comfortable. Gosh, how I feel like that, I want my family to feel like that. So homemaking does establish the foundation for lifelong bonds with, those that are in our home, helping children develop that sense of belonging and comfort. And so that to me has been really evident, as now I just have one at home who has had a trauma background. And so I'm working so hard to create that space to have really strong bonds because there's a piece of that that was missing. So, anyway, so there's that. Then you want to cultivate values and traditions. So, this is where it happens, friends, is at home. So, things like respect, kindness, and gratitude, they are absorbed from those that you see, exhibiting those, qualities around you. So, and then also, people in your home are going to see you do the things, right? Those things that we associate with homemaking, but the cooking and the meals, cleaning, um, taking care of the space together. All of that shapes the culture of your family and is critical in creating those values and traditions. So, and then as a homemaker, I mean, who has had to grow in skills that you just didn't know, right? So homemaking provides that opportunity. You have growth, you can be really creative. I know my friend Leslie is on here today, and her home, she just exudes creativity in the space that she provides for her family. It is gorgeous, right? And so we get to lean into those giftings that are given to us, but some of us aren't so gifted in some things, right? And so we have the opportunity to engage in ways to make those skills better, right? So there's a couple that I'm working still. I'm almost 58, you guys. My birthday is next week, and I'm like, I'm still working on some of those things. Meal planning, I will out myself right now. Meal planning is still one of those things I'm not very good at. So why are homemakers feeling lonely and isolated? I mentioned this a couple days ago on Instagram that I feel, are one of the most isolated like populations or groups of people now, more than it has ever been, but nobody's really kind of talking about it. So I kind of came up with a couple of reasons on my own, and you guys might agree with me. You guys might have something other, to add to that. But homemakers often feel isolated for a variety of personal and practical reasons, but this was interesting. Recent studies have highlighted significant feelings of isolation among parents, particularly mothers. And this is a 2024 survey by Ohio State, revealed that over 65% of US parents feel the demands of parenthood and homemaking can be isolating and lonely. This sense of isolation was reported more frequently among mothers. So, and I was thinking about this, and I would say in my generation, 20, 30 years ago, I feel like more families lived in subdivisions, more moms were home. You had more kids just within, a 1 or 2 block area that, they were kids, within maybe 8 years of whatever age you were. There was more, moms going next door to borrow a cup of sugar or, maybe go over to have a cup of coffee. And then I was like, what happened? That does not, that, if you live in a neighborhood that's like that today, I would say that is odd. I mean, and I would say, I would want that. It's odd in a good way, but it is not the common. So many more women, for whatever reason, have to work outside of the home. So homes are empty all during the day. The kids are out, the kids come home maybe, if they're, sent to school, come home, and maybe their house is empty. There's just so many shifts that have happened. And so I can see now as we kind of examine why it's happened. And so I'll go through a couple other lists here, and then you guys can either agree or say, I never even thought about that. But some other ones for reasons of isolation and loneliness: lack of adult interaction. If you've been a mom to little ones for any period of time, that can be really impactful. So Lindsay says, I think it's rare. We live in a duplex next to our good friends. Oh my gosh, see? Yes, yes. I love your story because that is, right? That is what I think our hearts long for, but it is really hard to find that kind of close-knit community, like which kind of everybody else, 20, 30 years ago, it was kind of like if a subdivision opened, new families, they were all coming in there together around the same time. And I just feel like it's really different. But okay, so lack of adult interaction, we can say yes, right? We don't even have to talk about that when you know, right? Um, Feeling invisible and unseen. So this is when I see oftentimes, right, that women are discouraged because of the things that we're doing in our home that nobody comes in the door. Oh my gosh, mom, nobody is giving us these accolades. And if maybe you transition from working outside the home to coming in that job that maybe you had, right? You got high-fived and when you did a good job. And so that doesn't always happen when you come in. So that is really, really powerful. Repetitive routines and mental exhaustion, right? The daily grinds of meals and laundry and disciplining and running errands and running kids all over the places. It is physically and emotionally draining, especially if you don't have another partner that is more available to help you in some of those. I'm really grateful for the season that I'm in now, is that my husband is able to take some of those things and help. But like this entire week, he's gone out of town. And so I am the sole one. And so, but I'm grateful for when he is here and he is able to help. Okay, this one's a big one. And I feel like if I say it, I kind of out myself, but I hope that, those that are here don't see me in this way. But social media comparison. Gosh, you guys, we didn't have this years ago, right? And so as a mom want to take a break and you sit down to your phone and you're like, I'm going to go over to Instagram. And then you just see a bunch of things that are perhaps unrealistic, right? Everybody wants to show their good side out. And so then you're like, oh my gosh, what's the matter with me? Because my house doesn't look like that, or I'm not cooking this 5-course dinner, or, whatever is coming across. And then it just is like, wah, 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 right? So being really intentional on who you follow. Maybe it's time to go through your feed and unfollow a few people because they're not necessarily bringing you to a positive space. They're actually negatively affecting you. And I think that it's really important to set boundaries for us. I think there are fewer opportunities to socialize. So, if you take your kids to school, you just run through the drop-off line. You don't even have to get out of your car to pick them up or drop them off. There's just so much. It's like a drive-through kind of thing for a lot of things. And so you don't have that engagement. I find it challenging and, unless I'm at church, which there's a different, I think, stigma of community, right, within church, but other community spaces, I don't feel quite as connected. And I feel, especially after the last 5 years, people aren't as engaged with getting out of their house and doing things. So we really have to be intentional on what that looks like to create those social opportunities. So whether it's making a lunch date with a friend or meeting at a park and, or meeting for coffee, you have to be very intentional to create those opportunities. They're not just going to happen, right? A loss of identity or purpose, kind of touched on this. If shifted from a career outside of the home and then you came home full time, that's an adjustment. And it can be really challenging in the first few years because, like I said, we're getting accolades from people, and you had certain tasks that you had to do, and you're not having to juggle lots of different things with like little voices in your head all the time, coming at you. So that is one. And then this one's a big one. Cultural undervaluing of homemaking. And I do feel that that has been what has happened, at least here in the United States. I know we have people that are going to view this from all over the world, and I think that it could be different in other countries. But for here, it is very much seen as not something that's highly valued. And so, you're not necessarily earning an income, which that is debatable to me, because if you manage your home well, you actually can save a lot of money for your family, and there are plenty of things that you can actually do from home to create some income too. So we can talk more about that another time. And then managing a home alone. So for 8 years, I was a single mom, right? So I did it all the time. So being in that homemaker, but also breadwinner position is really stressful and taxing. Military wives, they have to do it too, right? They are running everything while, their husbands are away. And then I am the one with whose husband travels frequently, right? We just have to learn to have some support systems built in. So those are some reasons why homemaking can be isolating and why we get lonely, we can get really discouraged and down on ourselves. So why is community beneficial? Connection and support, right? So we've already said isolation is a big one, especially if you aren't working outside of the home. We have to be really intentional. To connect with other homemakers actually provides vital support network. It's essential to have others lean on for advice, encouragement, and shared experience, right? I mean, my mom passed away almost 19 years ago, and for a period of 20 years before that, she was really ill. So I didn't get to pick up the phone and call and ask my mom, which would have been the person that I would have done. So I would be curious, how many of you guys felt like either you still have or you had your mom there that you could call and ask for advice? Or who else would that be that you would call and ask for advice from? I'm curious. Because I think that too, sometimes maybe it's me as a perfectionist. I don't want to ask other people's advice because it admits that I don't know what I'm doing or, that I am weak. So I know I wish I could ask my mom. Yes, yes. You ask your daughter. Oh, I love that. What a great option that you have. Yes. Well, you know what? Now that you say that, I do ask my daughter, who's 32, what I should make for dinner sometimes for sure. She's quite good at that. So can always call my mom. She has so much on her plate, but oh, well. Oh, Stephanie, you live 10 minutes from your mom and you see her every Sunday for dinner. I love that. Oh, and Annalise, you FaceTime every day. Ah, you guys, I love these. FaceTime every day so she can talk to the kids. Oh my gosh, I love this. See? So you guys are making some community or figuring out a way to get that advice. So I love that. So, but for those of us that maybe don't have that, right? And you need that space, example, if you are trying to figure out how to balance tasks at the home and have playtime with your kids and you're like blah, having a community to kind of help you figure out what does that look like, and maybe somebody gives some encouragement or gives you an idea to time block some pieces of your day out so that you aren't trying to multitask too many things, right? So I think having a space for real talk, especially if you've had a bad day, is really important. Learning and growing through shared knowledge. I kind of think back to like how I figured like, oh, this must have been how it was. Like when I went home or when I went to visit my grandparents and my mom was there, but my grandma was there. I mean, we always had like other aunts come over, right? I remember canning green beans and clipping the ends of those green beans literally for hours, but they would just be talking and sharing and whatever. But I don't have that anymore in my life, right? And so, but learning from other people, I think, is really important. So you have cooking, you have time management, budgeting, decorating, cleaning, and even emotional intelligence, which who would have thought we would be saying emotional intelligence as part of homemaking? But it is so true. You really need to learn relationship building skills when you're home, a homemaker and just trying to juggle different people in your family that don't always operate the same, right? So when you can tap into some knowledge from others, it's really special. And also those practical learning pieces. So I love that I can be in spaces where maybe somebody mentions using bulk cooking. I mean, that's where I learned how to double or triple a recipe and then freeze part of it. I don't think I was smart enough to come up on my own with that. So just having that community space, I think, is really important. And then the one, which I think we all would say yes, is just feeling seen and valued, right? we don't want to come to the table and expect that everybody's going to be, cheering us on and giving us all kinds of compliments, although that could be what you try to encompass in your home is, a sense of gratitude and instill those, elements for your family. Um, but when you are in a space where you feel unseen and uncelebrated and lonely, you want a community where you can feel connected or pop in and just kind of, you know, get a attaboy or attagirl, right, from somebody. So, especially if, and I've noticed this, I think I was on another call I did a couple months ago, and somebody was so proud of themselves because they actually had cleaned the entire bathroom. They had never really done that before, and, were managed to get this stain off the toilet that had been there for years. What who are you going to go tell that to? But she brought that into this class and mentioned it, and everybody was giving her like, oh my gosh, that's so amazing. I'm so happy for you, right? Because we can relate to some of those battles and we want to have somebody see us, right? So I loved that. And then obviously just building friendships with people that you can connect with. I think, when homemakers come together, real friendships do form, and it's built on a shared purpose. So when somebody shares a tough season, of motherhood, and you're met in that season with encouragement, prayer, and helpful tips, that's what we really want. That's what our heart wants, right? It is a gift to have people celebrate you for the little things, Lindsay, right? So, what are some action steps for building community? Because we can talk about it, but if it's something that's lacking, then what do we do to build that? So, obviously, online groups are great. Following some people on social media can be great, but you're not always getting that back and forth. I mean, I feel like social media kind of is like, here, I'm showing you, or look at me, this is it. There's not always that back and forth that happens. But sometimes you can find that more like in a Facebook group. So maybe you guys have had engagement or involvement in a Facebook group that you've been in that you are able to ask questions and get support. Just an example for me is because I started fresh milling and didn't know what I was doing. And there were a couple really great Facebook pages, very specific on fresh milling. And so I could go in and ask questions. So there are, those opportunities. I would love to hear if there's other platforms that you guys have found community. You can create local connections, whether church, that's a great place if that, is something that fits into your life. Play dates or neighborhood meetups. Maybe there's neighborhood, Facebook groups where they meet at different parks. That's an opportunity. Sourdough communities. Yes, very good. It's all about bread, right? Fresh milled sourdough. Um, but look for those spaces that, you can meet somebody in real time if you're looking for a local connection. And I do believe there is an element for online connection, but nothing replaces in-person connection by far. So, and here's what I would say. Don't wait to be invited. Invite someone in. So if you don't see a group or something that maybe you would like to be a participant in, why not be the person that starts it? Because it always has to start with somebody, right? Maybe you want to start meeting at a playground now that the weather is getting nice, twice a month. Start the group, make it happen, and you're going to be surprised what other moms you meet on the way. Or here's another one. Host or attend a gathering. So I have had gatherings in my home. It's going to be 3 years, excuse me, in June, where we do some kind of DIY little project-y thing. And I just invite people that I meet when I'm out and about in my community, whether it's church or it's at the grocery store or it's at the coffee shop. I have something to invite people to. And it has been a beautiful thing because, one, people are scared. They think there's a trick. They come into my home and they're kind of like waiting for the bomb to drop, like I'm going to give them some big sales pitch or something. And then it's like when they leave to go home and they just see that it was just an opportunity to come, make a little project, chat and meet new women, they're like, oh my gosh, this was so much fun. I can't wait for the next one. So figure out a way to do that. And it doesn't have to be big and fancy. You could even set up a meal prep. time, like on a weekend day or in an evening where, you want to do like freezer meals and people bring different ingredients or they just bring what they're going to make and maybe you have a theme and you can, the sky's the limit. So it's just an opportunity for people to get together, right? Hospitality, just like so many other things, is not about perfection. It's just about doing it, right? I can tell you, we're the ones that get caught up in that perfection, and I'll be the first to say I'm there. But I can tell you, people are not coming in my house looking to see if my toilet is spotless or if there's dust behind the bookcase or whatever. They're coming because they want connection and community. They want a cup of coffee. They want to sit down, right? So, okay, the next section we're going to cover is just the value of investing in yourself to learn new skills. Because I didn't go, well, I did say I had home ec, but I did not go to any other class where I earned some kind of degree, right? If you think about it, any other type of profession that you have the option to do, there's some type of training program for it, but there isn't for homemaking. So you kind of get to make up your own, which is kind of fun, but it can seem overwhelming, right? But personal growth equals a better homemaker. So homemaking is a craft. And yes, you can craft as a homemaker. However, homemaking isn't static. I think that's the thing. It's not like you like, oh, yay, I learned how to homemake. Now I'm done, right? Everything is always changing. And so it's dynamic. When you choose to invest in yourself by learning new skills, you do become a better homemaker. And I was just chatting in in the collective group. I think it was earlier today, and I'm going to read this before we close. But I love the word homemaker, but I also love the word home manager because they are interchangeable. And I think it gives a completely different mindset when we call ourselves a home manager. And that's truly what a homemaker is. The homemaker kind of makes it feel a little more warm and fuzzy, but the home manager is really all of those skills. So if you are not very good at budgeting, you may want to figure out a way to learn to be a better budgeter, right? Because that is going to be helpful. So learning different skill sets as you are on this journey as a homemaker will allow you more creativity, give you better fulfillment, and also more confidence. And how do you get confidence? It's just by doing the things. It's not like somebody comes and says, okay, now here's your crown of confidence. It doesn't work that way. You have to go and do the things that you're wanting to be confident in order to build up that confidence within you to feel that. So I always like to remind people of that because they do. They think it's just like I'm going to hear a speech on confidence and then I'm going to have confidence. No, it comes from doing. So time well spent. Homemakers are often the working without pay. We kind of mentioned this, which can lead to exhaustion and burnout. So you pour into everyone else. And I know if you are here, you can comment and say, yes, I feel this. There are days I feel like I've poured out all I have. And so I need you to know, one, it's okay to have those feelings. There's nothing wrong. And it's okay to feel like you need to take some time to refill, right? So investing in your personal development, whether it's through an online course, a hobby, reading a book, you are worth investing in, not just your skill set, but also that self-care piece. And I feel like self-care gets kind of used a lot, and we kind of tend to think of it as just like, oh, it's just a spa day. No, it is not just a spa day. It is finding the things that really fill you up and nurture you at the core. Those are the things that you're going to want to be aware of and really invest in as well. So I love when people come and they say, I'm going to learn one new skill every single month. And I think that that's great. It can be small, it can be big, it doesn't really matter. You're just being intentional in learning in ways that will advance you and help you feel more confident. So, practical skills to invest in: time management and organization. Anybody feel like, oh, Yeah, I need that, right? I feel like time management. I'm kind of one of the gals this morning. She said, I'm squirrely. I'm glad other people are squirrely too. Any other people squirrely? It's like you're doing something and then you're over here and you're doing something else, right? Well, there are ways that we can kind of help ourselves not be so squirrely. And so I loved, we had some discussion in the collective actually on that. And what you could do instead of just being caught in that trap, right? So, efficient time management is really essential for keeping your home running smoothly and not getting so distracted. I do love time blocking and also figuring out your priorities. And sometimes that can be a little bit challenging, but it is really helpful. And then cooking and nutrition, learning bulk cooking. Oh my gosh, prepping tips, creating a pantry system, or understanding nutrition a little bit better so that you can prepare healthier meals for your family, I think is really a great investment that you can make. Also, like decluttering techniques, seasonal deep cleaning, there's like literally a list. If we were to sit there and comment, with all the things that you would want to learn about, we probably could come up with a list of like 35 things, right? So we've got money management and maybe natural living or doing DIY things, hospitality. I feel like people want to be hospitable, but they get scared and they feel judged, and then we just don't open the doors to others, right, in our home. And so there is a way, right? You can do that without having all of those heavy emotions come on. And then just our own emotional, wellness, I think is really, really helpful too. So, okay. I think my time is doing pretty good. I only have a couple more pages here. So, okay. So, a few tips here. I came up with 5 ways for creating a peaceful, well-run home. And maybe you already do some of these things. And I should say, awesome. Keep doing them. So, because a peaceful home isn't perfect. Okay. And I think we kind of get that confused in our head, or maybe that's just me, right? Peaceful means it's perfect. Nothing ever goes wrong. Everything goes as planned, and that's not the case. So, but a peaceful home is intentional. So you have intentional rhythms, you have intentional routines, you have intentions for your day, and that's different because if you are just flying by the seat of your pants, how's that going for you? Because most of us would say, not really, right? So it is about those rhythms. It's creating an environment that's nurturing those that are inside your home. So when your home runs smoothly, there's so much space for joy and connection and rest, right? I mean, and true rest, not just vegging out in front of the TV. It's actually doing something that actually nurtures your heart with others in your home as well. So, number one, establish rhythms, but not rigid routines. So, if you guys have established a rhythm that's working in your home, I would love to have you put it in the chat. Do you have a morning rhythm that works for you personally or for your family? Maybe an evening one. And I would say if you don't have rhythms set up right now, just pick one area first. Don't feel like you have to revamp your entire day for it to be successful. So, a morning rhythm, afternoon rhythm, or an evening rhythm, those will anchor your day, which is like this great feeling that just kind of gives you that. It's like a level of comfort. You don't have to think so hard about what's coming next when you know. I mean, for me, I get up in the morning. I know I come downstairs. I'm going to drink 16 ounces of water that has a little dollop of salt in it before I go brew my coffee. I don't even have to think about it anymore because it's part of my rhythm. I have a rhythm that sets me up for success. It's intentional, and I know that it's beneficial for my body. So, yes, it is the key, Lindsay, to not have to think so hard because, friends, you are thinking and making a bajillion decisions a day. So, what can you take off your plate that is going to allow that space for something else, or maybe even nothing to be in this brain space, right? Okay, so that's the first one, establish rhythm. So I would challenge you, think of your morning, an afternoon, or an evening rhythm. what would that look like for you? What would it encompass? And then just write, maybe just start with two or three things. Put those into practice and see how it feels. So, yes, Amy, your routine of early morning, sitting outside and reading in that rhythm. I love that. Yes. Okay, second, declutter for peace. I kind of almost really dislike that word declutter because I feel like it has such a negative stigma and it makes us all go, oh, if so, I have so much stuff, right? So, but I want to just say a tidy space without stuff all over your countertops and whatever, how does that make you feel? Right? You have to think of it in that way because if your space, there's so much stuff, it doesn't give us space to breathe. We feel suffocated. We feel anxiety and stress. And there's proven studies, friends, on that. So it is very distracting. Um, Michelle, oh, I love, yes, your 90-day goal is to develop a better evening routine. I love that. Yes, and 90 days is great. That's not putting such a short time frame that if something goes awry, that you're going to feel like a failure, right? So I love that. So, but for decluttering, start small, you guys. We get these big plans that we've got to do our entire house, and then what happens? We get stuck and we don't do anything. Friends, start with a drawer. One drawer, okay? Over the next week, just do one drawer. And then the next week, maybe you do a cupboard, you know? So, because it's like a muscle. Once we start realizing that, oh, we can get rid of some things, or we don't have to have 42 pencils in the drawer, whatever, like it is a muscle and you're developing that. So, and it does build momentum. So, then the third one, use your senses to set the tone. I am big on this. So, soft lighting. I love having calming music. Um, I really enjoy, and I used to not always be like this. So, you guys, there's always hope. I was a screamer with my two older kids, especially in the season where I was a single mom. I was a screamer, and we can laugh about it now, but it's still somewhat embarrassing for me to know that that's how I parented, but I mimicked what I knew from my own parents and my mom. My mom was a screamer too, right? And so you have the ability to change things that kind of you feel like, oh, I don't, that's just who I am. No, it's not who you are. You have the ability to change that. So now I am more aware of how I'm speaking. So I like to be more gentle. Obviously, I'm a big fan of having essential oils. That smell is just so good for me. And then now that I found a non-toxic candle, like I love being able to light a candle either early in the morning or in the evening. There's just that tone that comes. It's kind of like, oh, and if you have littler ones in your home, you could have a candle, and that could be almost like the trigger for everybody, and trigger in a good way like, hey, we're shifting to more, we're getting ready to settle down or whatever. They see that candle lit and then they just know. So there's opportunity there. The fourth one is plan ahead to reduce stress. So a weekly menu, which I'm still at 58 working on. Your family calendar. Do you have a calendar where you can easily look or you and your husband or your partner, whoever, or others in your family, if you have older kids, they can see what's going on during the week. Have something that's set up so that people can see so nothing comes as big surprises. And then one of the things I know people love about having the weekly household planner is that they leave it set out, and then others in the family can easily see what they can participate in. You know, what maybe they have 5 or 10 minutes and they know, go look at the planner and see what needs to be done, right? And so that really will prevent you feeling stressed out like you have to do everything at the last minute, right? So I don't like not looking at my calendar the night before, for the next day, because what if there's that dentist appointment or the orthodontist? It seems like the orthodontist is always at 6:50 a.m. and then I haven't looked and then we're like, blah, in the next day. So planning ahead to reduce that stress. And then the fifth one is prioritize rest and margin. I want to do more of this, meaning I want for our day, for our family to be Sunday is where we really try not to plan a bunch of things. And we know like we're going to be together as a family. We can do a puzzle or we can do a game or we can watch a movie if that is what is restful for us. Now that the weather is getting better, we're getting our boat back on the lake. And so a day out on the lake, just a boat. I mean, those are the connections that we truly desire. But if we don't have margin built in and we're not intentional to make that happen, friends, it's not going to magically happen. Who magically just has days on their calendar that has nothing filled in? No, that doesn't happen. We have to block out time, right? So we have to be intentional in that. So, okay. So, like I said, we're wrapping it up now, but you are a homemaker, whether you feel confident in that just a little bit or you don't feel confident at all. What you do matters. The way you serve, the way you plan, the way you comfort, and the way you lead within your home carries generational impact. Okay, I'm going to say that again because not to put a lot of pressure on, but I think it's truly important. I mean, here, I wasn't even, I wasn't living with my grandma, but things that happened with my grandma have impacted me. And guess what? I'm going to pass those on. So the way you serve your family, the way you plan, the way you comfort, the way you lead, the way you are present in your home will impact generations. And so, how it will impact is up to you. You're either going to impact in a positive way or in a negative way. And so you get to be in the driver's seat. That's the good news. So it isn't about work. Hopefully, I have made that clear. You as a homemaker, it is not just about chores, right? It is that legacy I mentioned. So when you put that paired with support of a community that you can gather ideas from and you feel validated and you feel inspired and encouraged, and you have this willingness to grow, it can really be one of your most powerful callings. And I really want women to truly aspire to own that. You are not just in the home to fill a void. You are in the home for a massive purpose. So that leads me just to kind of wrap us up here at the end, but I want to talk about my biggest passion that I can't even believe the doors open to the Confident Homemakers Collective. And if you are watching this video and you have no idea what I'm talking about, it is a private community that is not on social media, which is amazing. And people have commented already that they love that it's not on social media because oftentimes we just get really distracted. We go thinking we're going to ask a question somewhere and then we get really distracted, right? Reading all of these things that maybe aren't serving us in the best way. But so it is a collective of women. It's private, it's cozy, oh my gosh, and it's designed to equip and support you. So I would say I am blown away in just, what are we? Have 7 days it's been open. And there are over 100 women in already. And you guys, the beautiful encouragement and inspiration among the women there already is melting my heart because it's more than I would have imagined. I knew there was a need for a space like this. I just didn't really know how joy-filled it would be and how pivotal it would be. So I lost my train of thought there really quick. So anyway, so each month in this collective, we are going to be focused on a new theme or a topic. I have teaching that I will be bringing to the table. That's what I was going to say. Here we are, 70s in. We haven't even started any of the teaching, you guys. That starts in April, and everybody is still so excited and so happy to be in there, which, I mean, there are some things there, but we are going to talk and spend the month of April talking about your purpose and why it matters. Because I'm telling you, I could tell you how to clean your house. I could tell you how to cook a dinner, invite people over. I could tell you how, to budget or meal plan. I could show you those skills. But if you truly don't know and own how important of a role you have, none of that really matters at all. You really have to know how pivotal that is. And so it's just been amazing. But here, I'm going to read this, and Barb's on here. So, but Barb said this. I mean, this has been like a few days ago. She's like, can I just say how nice it is to found this community that is not on social media? I'm trying to cut back on my time on social media, and it's because it's such a time waster. But here, the conversations can go deep, and we are all on the same path in some way with homemaking. I look forward to getting to know everyone here. Then this space feels much safer to be able to share. That is the truth. I mean, I will say so much has already shared, right? We have people asking for prayer requests and everything. And so, and another thing, I was surprised, we have a span of women. We have new moms all the way to, you guys, we have a gal that's 80 in there. Like, I am just like, what is even happening? How beautiful is this? Because this is not the Susan show. Guess what? How I mentioned here about community, I was just the one to step out and invite other people in, right? I was just that person. And now there's a space. So every month we have a different topic, and there's a couple or Zooms with a Q&A, and I have a private podcast. But here's the information that you want to know is that the doors are only going to be open every quarter. So it's not like people can just jump in there and join at any time. So the doors are going to close March 30th. They won't be open until the end of June when we open up the next quarter. I don't want it to be a big revolving door. I want an intimate, like I said, cozy space where you really get to know the other women and there is some connection in there. And so that private app has been super fun and it's super easy to navigate, which I really appreciate. So, this isn't for everybody. Oh, I didn't say it's $24 a month. Yes, you're on. You want to know how much it is. So, and that is the founder's rate. Anybody that joins now, I'm considering you a founder because you are trusting me coming into this new space and you're like, okay, I'm excited. I want to see what's happening. So it's $24 a month. But the beautiful thing is you can cancel. There's no commitment. If you come in and you check it out because something I said today resonated with you and you're like, "Oh my gosh, what would it feel like or what would it be like to be able to go in and ask a question and have somebody come back with responses?" Somebody just asked a question today about, they were talking about postpartum and how they were preparing for that. Literally within an hour, there was like 6 other people that gave them ideas on things to do to prepare for postpartum. It was amazing. And this one, I love this. Heidi says this. I have the planner. I love it. In my mind, I'm meticulous with tasks and my house sparkles. In real life, I have straw poking out of the water and I'm struggling with my responsibilities and ADD. Is anyone else struggling with ADD and how does one make it work? Just in that alone, there was like 6 people that gave ideas and she responded and said she tried some of them and it was super helpful. So this is what you're going to find, a space, like I said, that is private. So, and that may be something that works for you. And you come in for a month and you try it and it's not, no harm, no foul. Guess what? You just don't renew your membership and you're good. So, but how will you know unless you try it, right? You won't know. So I'm going to read this one and then I'm going to see if anybody has any questions. But I loved this. It says, okay. So I've had the planner every year, seriously. And I've always felt like if I got behind, it was over and I would quit. Since joining this group and knowing I'm not alone, I have actually been tackling it with confidence. Do I do every single thing daily? Nope. Does life sometimes get busy and I have to pass on something? Yep. But I don't quit and I don't give up. Also, renaming myself house manager instead of how I felt, which was a maid, woman who was supposed to do it all has made a huge difference. I encourage every single one of you today to just do your best and don't give up. Realize we are all at different stages in life. I mean, you guys, this is what it is about. And like I said, I had a vision. This has overflowed my vision, and we haven't even really dove in yet. So if that resonates with you, we're going to drop the link here so that you can join. If you want to think about it, you have until March 30th, but as soon as you jump in, you're gonna get involved in this community. It has just been a blessing. Like I said, you have a question, you come in. If you need prayer, women are praying for each other in a private space that feels genuine and so authentic. It's just been such a blessing. So you do not have to do this homemaking gig alone. And if anything has come from this point now where I think loneliness and isolation is fairly common, you don't have to stay in that space. So again, you can click the link. You can join before March 30th. Doors will close then and won't be open until June. So I have confidence there is a homemaking revolution happening, and you can join my train and come along for the journey. And you know what? Not only are you going to benefit, but your family's going to benefit. And that's going to be generations that you will not even see, friend. When I think about that, my children's children are going to maybe be talking about their yaya one day that did something that impacted them. That's what it's about. So I encourage you to come in and give it a whirl and see if it fills that space for you. So, all right, you guys, thank you so much. I'm going to stop the recording and then I will see if anybody has any questions.